You would start recording, please. Okay, that's a different icon than I'm used to seeing. Justin, would you just confirm that you are recording?
It's the normal icon that I see that says it's recording.
Yeah, it's just different than I'm used to seeing, so just want to be sure. Hate to get halfway through the meeting and. All right. Good evening and welcome to the April 28th, 2021 meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference. Please be patient. We'll do our best to be efficient and allow everyone to participate. This meeting is also being broadcast and streamed online by FCTV in real time. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. The chair recognizes the attendance and ongoing assistance of our staff members, Jen, Kevin, Alyssa, Mark, Amy, and Susan. And we also welcome our Board of Selectmen liaison, Sam Patterson. We have a almost full contingency tonight. We're missing Maury. Okay, so Pat, you are officially appointed up. And sorry, lost my place. I'd like to remind you that for commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time so we can not be speaking over each other. Also, that all votes will be done by roll call. When I call your name, please state your name and your vote. And though it may be redundant, even if you've made the motion or the second, it's still going to call for your vote. To our public participants, there will be an opportunity for public comment for each hearing. If you'd like to comment on a particular hearing, you may submit any comments or questions via the chat function once that hearing has opened. At the appropriate time, I will call for public comments and any submissions will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are posted on the agenda. First up is, I'm taking it as other business. I'd like to make an announcement. Mark Gurney has resigned from this board. He's taken some different things with his personal life, so I'd like to thank Mark for his dedication and wish him well in his future endeavors. Thank you, Mark. All right, first up is vote minutes, April 21. Anyone?
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the minutes and I didn't see anything that needed correction. I would move approval as written, pending other comments.
I'll second Gladfelter.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. No other comments? All right. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Pat.
Harris, aye.
Peter.
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes as submitted. Next up, continued request for determination of applicability. John P. and Kyle M. Daly Bogle, 34 Creekor Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a 3.5-foot expansion to an existing deck. Mr. Newton.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant's requesting a continuance until May 19th. They had just hired a consultant to take a look at a potential vernal pool.
So I'll make a motion to continue to, what is it, March 19th? May 19th?
May 19th.
Bird, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this until May 19th. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Pat.
Harris, aye.
Peter.
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 5/19. Thank you. Continued hearings under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. First up is Stephen J. and Lorraine Barilaro, 36C Alder Lane, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct and maintain a detached garage, an addition, a deck, stairs, and to reconfigure the driveway, to install dry wells and to install mitigation plantings with all associated grading and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just promoted Matt Cost up to present the project, and I'd just like to make one thing. FCTV, I just was contacted by somebody that says it's not streaming on the website or the TV, so I'm not sure what's going on, but I just want you to be aware of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Costa, you're up, sir.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Matt Costa, Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
So we're here tonight under a notice of intent application for a small addition onto an existing structure and a detached garage. If you can see my screen, I have the GIS map pulled up. Everybody can see that okay?
Yes.
All right, so this is the property, 36C Alder Lane. It's located off of Alder proper. It's a couple of lots out on a little peninsula. You can see Alder Lane over here. So you can see where we're situated. In accordance with DEP's mouth of river maps, this is classified as a river. So all of this area in here is riverfront area. So I'm going to flip over to the plan. We can go over the resource areas for you. So your resource areas include riverfront area, the salt marsh, which was delineated by LEC, that surrounds the property as well. So you have salt marsh on one side, river on one side, salt marsh on another side with the same. You also have, due to slope criteria, you have coastal banks up in this area because of the slope coming up from the wetland, and the entire parcel is land subject to coastal storm flowage. So if you look at this, you'll see the entire site is covered by Zone A. So this entire project is located within Zone A. So if we zoom in here a little bit, we have a rather small existing structure here, and we have the existing distances shown to the wetland boundaries. There's a lot going on in this plan, so I tried to make it clear here. This red dashed line is the closest point on both sides of the primary dwelling. And you can see that we're locating a small addition in the area that is not any closer to the wetlands than the primary existing dwelling. The garage, there's a detached garage over in this location over here. And that again is not any closer than the closest point of the primary existing dwelling. These proposed additions are located within previously legally altered areas. You can see pretty well from the aerial what we have going on in the site. We have gravel driveway in this area, some landscape features, rock walls, and lawn surrounding the dwelling. Some ornamental plantings over in this area, and then a series of trees with grass underneath of them. What we are proposing for mitigation on this project is pretty substantial. And if I could find my way back to my plan, I will show you. So due to the fact that we're in Zone A, everything is counted at 3-to-1. So including a small addition in the front, the addition on the side, and the garage, that's all been calculated at a 3-to-1 ratio. So that effectively requires, to satisfy that the entire backyard get replanted with native species. This was a fairly complicated project, and we were in close communication with staff on this by way of a meeting with Jen prior to filing. And then we communicated with staff via their staff report, and they did ask a series of questions. And they did notify us that through their research identified 2 trees that were historically located in the backyard. They were in this general area here. So we've added some additional trees to that mitigation as well. We're calling out 2 cedars to be planted over here. So with the amount of mitigation that we have proposed here, it does require 2 additional trees. So we have a total of 4 trees that will be planted. We did work with staff on the plant species. This is an area that is very low lying and immediately adjacent to salt marsh. So we proposed some plant species rather, that would be well suited for this area. We fully believe that we have addressed all the applicable performance standards for this project. We are hopeful that you'll be able to grant an order of conditions for this project. The applicants have purchased this home as a retirement home, and this proposed addition is a single-story addition. There's no living space below it or above it. It's just first floor master suite. And the garage is a single-story structure as well. The addition is in fact located on Coastal Bank area. This is already legally altered area. There's no habitat value to it. And the structure will be built in accordance with building code standards for building construction in flood zones, meaning the slab elevation will not be any lower than the lowest grade around it, and it will have the appropriate flood vents. So there's no loss of any flood storage capacity. So we do believe that we overcome the presumption that this Coastal Bank area is significant in flood and storm damage protection and habitat value. With that, I would be happy to address any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. All right. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and just to answer the question about FCTV, IT just said the signal is live on the channel 15. The live stream online is down, and they're fixing it. So to address some of your concerns, Mr. Chairman, some of the commissioners. Okay, on to Matt. We've been working with Matt on this. He's been very responsive to the staff's comments and concerns, so we appreciate that. Thank you, Matt. Sorry, I had to run downstairs and grab another phone real quick. Can you just point out where those other 2 trees are, Matt? The replacement ones, I think I see them, yeah.
The left of the garage, standing in the driveway.
Okay, the only thing I thought we might add is that's all Phragmites over there. You may, and I don't know if we already addressed this or not, you may want to have them install a root barrier near the Phragmites so it doesn't interfere with the mitigation plans.
Yeah, I did see that on the revised staff report.
Yeah.
That's not going to be a problem.
Okay, excellent. I don't have any further comments or questions, Mr. Chairman, unless Kevin Newton does.
No, Mr. Chairman, no comments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, Betsy, we'll start with you.
So I actually love to have a project like this because I'd like to see all these overlapping buffers and seeing how people figure out where the building envelope is. So I think you did a good job with that, Matt. But the one question I had when I was out there is with your plan, which I don't have in front of me right now, but let me just ask you this question. Going into the garage, is that going to be just a gravel driveway off the road?
Yes, and let me just show you real quick.
Yeah, the original plan you had, it looked like it was,
See
yeah,
right
so
here,
what's that?
this is lawn area now that will be gravel. and
Oh,
this
so
is-
the whole thing
this is
would be gravel.
Yeah, and this is a gravel area that's going back to lawn, so we're not increasing our gravel area.
Okay, well, that was what I was confused about, that little, why it was that shape.
Oh, this?
Yeah, because you're
It-
just building on to where it's already gravel.
Yeah. This is lawn area turning to gravel. That's what it's trying to illustrate.
Okay. That's all. Thanks.
All right. Courtney?
Nice job, Matt.
Thanks, Courtney.
No comments.
All right. Kevin?
I'd like to echo Court's comments. It's a nice job on a difficult site. And other than that, I have no comments.
All right. Pat?
Like threading a needle. I have no comments either.
Peter?
Nice job working with staff. No comments.
Steve?
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All
Come on,
right.
Steve. No, nice job.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Hold on. Jen, do we have any public chat, comments, questions?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Sorry, Courtney, go ahead.
I'll try again. I make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
I'll second it, Gladfelter.
Hey, you're the one that chastised me before for taking a motion without public comment, so. All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. There's nothing else. All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
Brian, I.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Costa.
Thank you very much for all the kind words. Have a great night.
Thanks, Matt. Matt, just one quick, you want to stay on for your next one, so we have that continuance date, will be the 19th?
Yeah, I sent that to Alyssa.
Okay, perfect. All right, that's it. Thank you. Good night, Matt. Thanks.
All right. Next up, JM and Leah S. DeCouteau, trustees, Minot 3 Realty Trust, 507 Central Avenue, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to finish constructing a shed and to install mitigation plantings. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until May 19th.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until May 19th. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this hearing until 5/19. Therefore, next up is Cindy Coates, trustee, the 187 Penzance Road Trust, 187 Penzance Road, Woods Hole, Mass. For permission to construct and maintain a 4-foot by 127-foot timber walkway with steps and lighting, to create a 6-foot by 200-foot gravel path, to install an aeration system and subsurface electric lines for pond restoration, to install an E1 pump and force main to connect the workshop building to the existing system, to remove 9 trees and plant 27 trees, to relocate and install 2,390 square feet of mitigation plantings under orders of conditions 25-2180 and all associated clearing, excavation, grading, and landscaping. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I promoted Seth Wilkinson up to present the project, and with him is Nate. And Nate, I'm sorry, I forgot forget how to pronounce your last name, from Holmes and McGrath. Nate, you're on mute.
Sorry, Gosh Garion.
all right,
Okay, thank you, Nate.
all right. Who's going to present first?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Seth Wilkinson, Wilkinson Ecological Design. I should be able to present the project this evening, and Nate will assist if there's any engineering-oriented questions. The project has been revised since you last saw it. I'll bring the restoration plan up with your permission.
Yes, sir.
And
You're not sharing yet,
okay, it's just taking a
just so you
second.
know.
Oh, I know I got an update last night and I want to get another permission, but I can explain it while this is coming up. The mitigation has been realigned. We're offering a total of 2,650 square feet of mitigation. The vast majority of that is from the old order of conditions from the 1990s. And most of that is being proposed along the revetment. The owner, as you've heard from prior hearings, is very interested in keeping the area between the home and the revetment open for fire access and general access around the building. So we have allocated that additional 940 or so square feet along the lawn just south of the home. And in addition to that, we're proposing to restore about a third of an acre, just general restoration, as you saw in the prior projects. And we are we have shown the plan on the restoration, the path sort of coming off the existing path and running northwest of the small pond along that western property line and connecting to the beach. The existing path, which doesn't quite make it to the beach because it encounters a vegetated dune, is not being, it will just be abandoned and allowed to naturally revegetate. There's a considerable
Seth, would you
amount-
like me to share my screen for you?
Yeah, if
yours
you
isn't
could,
gonna
I've run
come
into
up?
just a security issue on mine. It's not letting me
All
do
right,
it.
just give me one second. I just was able to log in. Hang on.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be able to see the plan.
Sure. Yeah, the restoration plan should do it.
Yep, that's the one I just pulled up. I just have to get it in a. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to share my screen for the commission. Can everyone see
Thank you.
that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, Seth, you can go on. I'm just
Thank
trying to
you.
help out.
I appreciate that. So you can see the path coming off the existing path through that green hatched area. It's a logical location, I think, for the path. And there's considerable amount of just restoration plantings. None of this area is being counted as mitigation. We're removing the invasive species and restoring with native trees and shrubs. And if you look to the bottom of the page, you'll see the 1,700 square feet of mitigation running along the top of the revetment. And we have left, a limited area between the home and the revetment as is. And then the additional 940 square feet continue along there to expand that buffer out. The remainder of that green hatched out there on the point, we're not counting as mitigation. That's just restoration of invaded areas. Some of that area is presently lawn, and we're basically just trying to put that back into the condition that was shown in the file folders from the Conservation Department, which was, I believe, circulated prior to our involvement with the project. It was sort of a grassy, shrubby area, and we're just proposing to restore that to the condition that it was shown to be prior to the current owners taking acquisition of the property. So I think, we've largely simplified the project. Just to touch on the staff comments, as I said, the existing sort of path to almost to the beach would just be allowed to naturally revegetate. And the owners would like to have just a simple low voltage, fully shielded ground lighting so that it's a popular destination for watching sunsets. It faces west. And so there's no tripping as they come back. If that's acceptable to the commission, they'd like to just have simple low voltage lighting along the path back to the home. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission has.
Excellent.
I'm going to stop sharing, Jamie.
I think so.
Okay.
Nate, do you have anything you want to add at this time?
Not this time, I don't.
Okay. Jen?
Just a couple of things. So, staff's been researching the use of the huckleberry sod. We've talked to Seth, and we would like to try it on this site, and another site that you'll be seeing next week is kind of like, let's see how it does. If this is something that we're going to be seeing on more plans, we kind of want to give it some time to see, how we feel about it, how the commission, likes its success. So we're fine with that. So I'll take back the comments we made originally about that. Thank you for saying that the other path was going to be allowed to grow in. The low voltage lighting, because we don't see any electrical, I don't believe, on the Holmes and McGrath plan. So how is that? Or did I miss the electrical on the Holmes and McGrath plan? Because that was taken off.
It may have been on a prior plan. Low voltage, because by nature it's sort of like battery voltage, doesn't have to be fully conduited typically. It certainly doesn't need to go to the depths that typical 110 volt wiring would need to. So it's often installed by like landscapers if they have proper training and licensing. It's very simple. It's just a thin. It's like a speaker back when stereo speakers had wires, I guess. It's that width or smaller.
So you don't need like a ditch witch or anything like
No.
that to install it.
No, it's usually just installed by hand.
Okay. And obviously, with the path way over there by the abutter, that's why we specifically wanted to know whether you're going to put lighting so that they're aware of what's going on in that area as well. I don't think I have any additional questions, Mr. Chairman. We did meet with the applicant to review this plan prior to them submitting it. So all our questions were answered, unless Kevin has something to add.
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
All right. We're going to go with commissioner comments. Courtney, we'll start with you. Courtney, you're on mute.
I'll second the low voltage comment. You only need to go 4 to 6 inches down. And so it's not an issue. It's like, he's right, it's like speaker wire.
Okay, I just didn't know, so.
No other
And he said it
comment.
would be installed by hand, so.
Yeah, no other
All
comment.
right. Thank you. Kevin?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Pat?
I wondered if the applicant could respond to some of the critique provided by Arlene Wilson. We just received that today.
Not sure we've seen it yet.
You haven't seen it?
Nathan, you should have received it. I mean, I think both of you should have, but
I've not yet received that.
You have not? I thought, some of the analysis persuasive. That's why I wanted to hear what your thoughts were on it. She was indicating in her critique that she felt that a lot of the proposed alteration of vegetation to have that path go to the northwest of the pond was unnecessary, that environmentally it made more sense to leave the path where it is as a direct route to the beach. And I wondered if the applicant had any response to that.
Sure. It's twofold. There's a considerable population of invasive species over in this location. So in order to remove those, there'll already be some disturbance. And in order to connect the existing path to the beach, I think as Jen found when she walked through the area, you'd have to do some vegetation removal through a vegetated coastal dune. So we thought we could avoid disturbing native vegetation in a coastal dune if we just went through the area that avoided the dune and delivered right onto the beach by crossing through the area that'll already be disturbed through the invasive plant management. Or there's portions that are already sort of a lawn vegetation as well. So it seemed like the lesser disturbance to us.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Peter?
I have no questions.
Okay, Steve?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Betsy?
Seth, I'd like to circle back to how you're going to water those new plants. You gave several several options last time because you hadn't really thought it through, and now you've had a couple of weeks.
Yes, so the size of the plants are smaller in that location, so they therefore require the irrigation less intensive irrigation, smaller the root ball, less irrigation required. I don't know if the client has decided yet if he runs. I think he's leaning towards just running a temporary water line out along the existing path, just to establish the plants. As we know, as soon as they're established, the line would just get rolled up and taken away. But you could come out in a small cart and hand water. We've done that before, but I think his preference would be to just run a temporary line out and have more of an automated system. We found that to be more reliable too.
Okay, just to make sure that it's not a permanent system that goes out to there.
Yes, the note 3 in our restoration plan specifies it would be temporary.
Okay, thanks, Seth.
Sure. One of the most important aspects of a restoration plan, making sure the plants survive.
All right, I think you said this, Seth, but that the other path is going to be allowed to regrow.
Yes. Yeah.
The abandoned path. Thank you. All right, Jen, we have some chat questions,
We
comments?
do, but one quick question, Seth, you still have the note, I believe, on your land management plan about that amphibious kind of craft that was going to be used to bring the plants into that area. That is no longer going to be the case, right? You are no longer using that type of transport.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
I guess we'd like to have the allowance to potentially remove some brush if that's a lesser disturbance than going up the path. But we can certainly get it up the path. If that's the commission's preference. But the plants would just be hand carried in.
Hand carried in from the path?
Via the path. Yeah, from the parking
Okay.
area at the dwelling through the existing path, and then through the proposed path.
Okay, so no amphibious craft and no loo. Is that what you referred to it as, a loo?
Lull.
Michael was lull was definitely no lull.
Okay, excellent. And now to the chats. From Arlene Wilson, concerned that the type and location of the lights is not shown. How far will they go? What interval will the lights be? And what will the design be?
I don't believe the owner has picked a design other than to specify that it would be fully shielded lights. Again, the different lights have different settings for the interval. Typically, they're about 25 feet apart, and the lower the light, the more frequently you need them. The higher the light intensity, the further you can spread them apart. Ultimately, it's just enough to provide safe passage from the beach area up to the home. If you want to specify no closer than 25 feet apart, I'm sure we could work with that. And they're proposed to be fully shielded. I'm not sure if there's interest in knowing the architectural type of the light or not. That hasn't been chosen yet. But fully shielded low voltage light is what we're proposing.
And you said fully shielded 25 feet apart. How far off the ground, Seth? Will the bulb be?
Yeah, the bulb is usually within 12 to 18 inches of the ground.
Okay.
It's considered full cutoff, meaning there's no light bleed up.
Yep. Okay. What about the construction access at the pond? Will it be by boat? If so, what are the impacts to the barrier beach? If by land, I'm assuming she means will the 4-foot width be enough?
Yeah, 4 feet is sufficient for us, and I think we sort of covered that with the prior question. No lull, and no landing craft for plant delivery.
Okay, and Michael George, the applicant. Says Michael George here, the lights will be low lighting and just enough to light the footpath. Thank you, Mr. George. And then Arlene Wilson, how much excavation to remove invasive grass at the pond? How deep will divots be refilled?
Sure. We don't usually need to remove more than about 4 inches. 4 to 6 inches is the typical spec for. It's a shallow rooted. I believe it's the stilt grass that she's referring to. We also use soil conditioning, which is a very shallow sort of pulverizing in the top couple inches of the soil to remove other invasive species roots. The soil is spread around. We don't bring topsoil back in. We just work with the soil that we have, but it is spread out and will be smooth when we're done, as in other projects.
Okay, and then Mr. George, these will not, referring to the lights, these will not be visible to anyone other than those on the path. We are mostly using coastal lighting by John Noonan for other lighting. And I think that is it for the chats at this point, Mr. Chairman. Nope. Arlene Wilson, discrepancy in management report. Will ground be mulched or seeded between herbicide application and replanting? Report says one thing in one place and another in another section.
So we always put a seed mix with a biodegradable like wood fiber mulch. It's it's almost like a paper type mulch. It breaks down quickly but holds the soil while the plants are the the plants are germinating. We always do that after the soil is disturbed, so that there's no risk of runoff or erosion, even on flatter surfaces. And then the plants have a one-time mulch around the root collar just to retain moisture while the plants are getting established. No mulching beyond that. That might be where the confusion is.
All right, we good?
I no additional chats at this moment.
All right, and this project's come a long way. So thank you guys for your diligence. Jen, would you say the staff has everything they need? Well, I guess it wouldn't be all of us, right?
Really, the staff, does the commission have
Yeah.
everything it needs?
Yeah. So are there any
I
other,
mean, we've
anybody have any
tried
other
to-
questions or concerns?
There's no additional chats at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, what's your pleasure?
That's directed at the commission.
Yes.
Come on, Courtney, make a motion.
I'll move that we close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Harris, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing after long last. If there's nothing else, taking the vote. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
I do, okay.
All right, next up, continued hearings under an enforcement order. First up, Charlotte Mills Siler, 0 Nashawina, Lot 2A, West Falmouth, Mass. Failure to install mitigation and restoration plantings according to Mass DEP 25-3969. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the property owner is requesting a continuance until May 26th. They need to have the property resurveyed. They are contracting with the BSC group and they need additional time. They also requested that I be present at that meeting and I will not be here on the 19th. So the next available hearing would be the 26th.
Okay,
So moved.
Bird, second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to continue this enforcement hearing until 5/26. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 5/26. And next up, Matthew and Ruslan Seiler, number 10 Nashawina Street, West Falmouth, Mass. Failure to install mitigation and restoration plantings according to Mass DEP 3968. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Same explanation. They would like a continuance until May 26th.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this enforcement hearing until 5/26. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We've continued this till 5/26. Next up, request to extend the existing order of conditions. First up, Peter Conway, 181 T-Ticket Path, East Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 25-4354, requesting a 1-year extension. Jen or Kevin?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a 1-year extension and staff will recommend that.
Heard so move.
Harris, second.
All right, we have them. Go ahead,
Jamie, can you give
Courtney.
the address again?
Sorry,
The address.
181 T-Ticket Path.
Got it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to grant them a 1-year extension. Any questions?
The
right.
reason. The
They need to
reason,
complete the project, Courtney.
I'm sorry,
They need to complete the project.
but they've started.
Yes.
Oh, it's already underway at least.
Good. No problem.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to grant the 1-year extension as per staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension. Next up, Edward Gordon, 120 Racing Beach Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 25-3437, requesting a 1-year extension. Jen?
Mr. Chairman, I'm promoting Mr. Gordon up as a panelist. Mr. Gordon has requested a 4 to 6 month extension to allow for and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gordon, for the installation of plantings and the finishing up of the hardscape. Unfortunately, there's no building permit on this project right now. You have a foundation permit, so the project will take a lot longer than that 4 months. What I've discussed with you, Mr. Chairman, and with Mr. Gordon is to issue the 4-month extension, get that hardscaping done, get the plantings done, and then have Mr. Gordon submit a work plan to this commission when that house will be framed, when it will be sited, when the driveway will go in, when the roof will go in, to kind of move this project along. This order of conditions was issued in 2007, and a foundation is in. So last year, Mr. Gordon came to this board to ask for a 1-year extension, said that it would be completed, was required to submit progress reports, and we received one in June, July, and August. And then after that, nothing. So Mr. Gordon is here to answer any of the board's questions or concerns, but I think after speaking with the chairman, I just don't know any other way to move forward with this. This project does need to start nearing completion. It's a really unfortunate for the neighbors that they have to live with this ongoing project. So Mr. Gordon has agreed to what I've said, but Mr. Gordon, after we spoke is when I started looking at the building permit issue, just to see from a building permit and what could be done to kind of move this project along. And maybe you can tell us why you haven't even filed for a building permit yet.
Sure, be happy to, but I'd just like to interject one comment on the progress reports. My recollection was that we had a condition of the extension was that we plant all of the mitigation plants by September or October, I believe. And
15th.
I thought that the progress reports were pertain to that, not to anything beyond that. If I'm incorrect, I apologize, but that was my recollection of project reports. So I basically, August, we had planted all of the plant material shown on the approved plan. So I didn't think we needed to continue with progress.
Well, I think your August progress report said you planted 90% of it, and then the water restriction went in so that you were concerned about planting the rest of it because the water restriction had gone in.
Right. So I just want to be clear on that. I don't have the email in front of me, but basically we planted 100% of the material that's shown on the approved plans. It basically came in one day, we planted it over a week, and we followed the plans, but we saw opportunities to be a little bit more dense in some areas. And in fact, we added some mature pines and cedars, but there were some areas that we just couldn't, the planting areas that we couldn't complete because the hardscape was not done, because the delays from the landscaper masonry folks at the time. So 100%, I'd say 105% at this point of what was called for was planted, but we still have some areas of some parts of those areas that could take more plants, and we intend to fill them in. Your question was what about the permits?
Going back to the vegetation, sir, some of those cedars out there are looking kind of brown, so you may want to look into the health of those.
From the day they were installed, we were under contract with a tree care service. We did 5 anti-desiccant treatments over the winter. We wrapped a number of them. Not having a lot of water at the end of the season didn't help. We planted them in late June, I think. And I'm concerned about it as well. It's a ton of money, and we put some large caliber trees out there.
And you may want to also check, when my staff went out there this afternoon, they said that some of the trees that were supposed to remain are no longer out there.
As you recall, Jen, we were decimated by the beetle.
The beetle.
We lost almost 19 trees to that. And that's what happened to those 2, or I think there were 2 or 3 that were shown west of the house. And that's part of the reason why I, without being asked, added some of these other mature trees in the buffer. Sorry, back to your original question about the permits.
I think the board, I think it's just important for the board to understand how you're going to move, the board and the abutters, on how you're going to move this project forward.
Okay. I don't want to make this about excuses. I've had some,
no, I understand that.
I've had setbacks with professional personnel, and finding this environment very difficult to get people to do things quickly. And I was with some of the wrong people initially. I think we've got the right team on the field now. We're about to submit for a building permit. I just signed off on the plans internally earlier today. The lower half of the structure is precast concrete planks. So the framing of the first floor actually is going to happen in a day. And that is scheduled and contracted for. And that's part of the reason I'm before the board tonight, is that we have these commitments and contracts that we had intended to fulfill before the May 14th deadline. But at this point, I can't mobilize steel trades and precast the installation trades with this deadline looming. So I either have to stop and file a new notice of intent, or get which would set me back even farther in terms of time. And I don't think that's in anyone's best interest, or file for the extension. And that's what we decided to do, even though I know the board was sensitive last time that this be the last, the extension. But I just, I ran into issue getting people to work on this project in the time frame that I wanted. But in any event, we are teed up to do steel superstructure and the planks to take us out through the first floor, basically at this point in May. If we get they're starting to back up on one another, and if we get the extension, I still think that probably would happen by the end of May rather than the middle of May at this point. And then from there to infill the garage openings, the basement openings, and to start framing up from the first floor.
So if this board were inclined to grant you a 4-5 month extension again, would you come back with a work plan with some targeted dates that this board can expect this project to be moving forward? And then at that point, they can review it and possibly grant you an additional time to move this project forward?
Yes, in fact, I think it'd probably be a pretty good exercise for me to have to do that.
We're going to help you along here, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, it takes a village.
Yeah. So Mr. Gordon's here to address any of the board's concerns with that.
All right. If it's okay, I'm going to start. Mr. Gordon, you said you've signed off on the plans, so you'll be applying for a building permit imminently?
He's revised based on comments today, the last comments. I think, yes, my understanding, and I don't know what the backlog is at the building permit. These are based on all the activity I see. I imagine it's pretty long, but we are at least in a position to submit that application, I guess, next week.
Okay, I don't know how that's going to affect your timeline with the concrete and the steel.
Well, my understanding is, we showed those planks on our foundation. That's basically a slab. It's a precast slab. My understanding is that we can install those as part of our foundation permit, but we certainly will be advised by the building department, I guess.
Yeah, you will. Jen, when was the 1 year extension granted? You have that date?
April 22nd, 2020.
Thank you. All right. Pat?
I was surprised to hear that the original order of conditions on this property was issued in 2007. I know that burdens on the landowner to come and request an extension prior to expiration. And it sounds like you've probably got 11 extensions. Does that sound about right?
No.
You're forgetting about the Permit Extension Act as well, Pat. So that added 4 years onto that permit.
Okay, so we'll bring it back to say 7.
There was litigation for 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And then the Extension Act. Basically, we started the project in earnest in 2018 when we came before the board for a extension.
Okay.
So it's been 3 years-ish.
My only comment is that, there was a major revision to the regulations in 2008. And I'm just, obviously you're doing what you need to do to get the appropriate extensions. So I'm not going to beat you with this, but I'm wondering if this project would have been allowed under the current regulations. That's all. 2007, this is a long time.
Pat, it would not.
It wouldn't. I didn't think so. Yeah. All right. No further comments.
Peter?
No questions.
Steve?
No additional questions. Thank you.
Okay. Betsy?
You're on mute. Betsy, you're on mute.
I have no questions
Courtney?
around.
If my aging memory serves me correctly, a year ago when you came in, I think you and I had a discussion about you're hiring a general contractor in terms of a builder who could have access to local subs that would perhaps come at his beck and call where they might not come at yours. Did you do that?
I've made several inquiries. You can imagine in the current environment that either they tell me they can't touch it for 5 to 7 months, or they tell me that it's too big, or they tell me that they don't want to start continue someone else's project. Basically, we have not been able to find someone because contractors are in a position to be incredibly choosy right now. So I've just tried to move this forward. I don't want the project to lay fallow. And if I wait for someone to come along, I don't know how long I would be at this point.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
All right. Kevin? Kevin O'Brien. There you go.
Yes, just make the one comment. I'm really uncomfortable about this whole thing. Thank you.
Yeah, we need to, whatever can be done, we need to get this moved along. So I'd like to say that, if we grant this 4-month extension, that a solid plan for obtaining a building permit and moving this framing forward be submitted concurrently in that 4-month period to finish the mitigation planting and the hardscape. So that we know, and we want to know that in 4 months, everything's done, hardscape and mitigation, and there's a solid plan to start and continuously work on the building itself, because you need that for compliance.
I understand.
Thank you. All right. Is there anything else anybody'd like to add? All right. So this is the application is for a 4-month extension, correct, Jen?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion for a 4-month extension. Gladfelter?
Bird second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to grant a 4-month extension, which will allow Mr. Gordon to complete the hardscape and the mitigation plantings, and in that time needs to submit a viable methodology. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
No,
It is unanimous. We have granted a 4-month extension. Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you, folks.
We'll see you in 4 months, Mr. Gordon.
Bye-bye.
All right, next up. Michelle Samorian, 21 Fay Road, Woods Hole, Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 254372, requesting a 1-year extension. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a 1-year extension to the project. And before you ask Mr. Bird, it's because they're considering whether or not to amend the permit and needs additional time to perform the work.
Thank
So
you.
there.
There you go, Courtney.
All right. Any questions, comments? Any motions or seconds?
I'll make a motion to grant a 1-year extension.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to grant a 1-year extension. If there's nothing further. All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension. All right, next up, vote, order of conditions. First up, Paul and Lisa Holder, 17 Shoreview Avenue, East Falmouth, Mass.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that is the addition across the street from the little strips of land.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They're placing the mitigation kind of clumped in the front yard because that's the closest area to the resource, to that salt marsh and bordering vegetated wetland. I have no idea why I'm on the wrong plan.
Can I interrupt you real quick? Just for the record, the quorum is everyone but Courtney. just to be clear.
No,
Am I wrong?
Kevin.
I'm sorry, not Peter.
Yeah, Kevin, Betsy, Jamie, Steve, Pat. Yes, you are wrong.
Hey, it happens. I was mistaken once.
Not very often.
So they're removing the back deck, they're replacing it with a new entry and concrete slab. They're doing a proposed porch in the front area with some stairs, and then the proposed addition by the garage area with the mitigation plantings again clumped in that front area.
I have a question. Was this the one where the Mike had to resubmit the plan to indicate that the pathway? Am I mixing this up?
No, you're not. The path looks like it's going to remain impervious, but it's going to be pervious.
Yeah, he's gonna remove that, the paved walkway.
Right.
That's
but he
being
was supposed to
removed.
Submit a plan to say that.
Yeah. So he needs to resubmit his impervious surface like schematic.
Correct.
Did we not ask for that?
We did, we just haven't received it yet.
Okay, so that's like 2 in a row for him. So we need to remind him. If you're listening, Mike.
He probably is not, but I'll send him an email right now.
Anybody have anything else they'd like to see on it?
Nope. I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions based on our discussion.
Second, O'Brien.
We have a motion and a second to accept the order conditions as discussed. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
I'm not on the quorum.
Courtney's not on.
I'm sorry. And I was the first one to say that too. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
Is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Mark Carroll, 115 Childs River Road, LLC. 115 Childs River Road, East Falmouth, Mass. And it's the same quorum, not Peter, not Courtney.
Hang on, Mr. Chairman. On all sorts of wrong plans right now. This is the one with the deck and the restoration plantings that never went in. They removed the invasives, but never put the restoration plantings in. I think the staff did say at the last hearing that we would condition that to go in by a date certain, since the last time
Yes.
they didn't
Right.
do what they were supposed to do. So when would the board like to see that in by?
Perfect time of year, so.
Can you plant?
We give,
Well, June
sorry?
30th? If this is issued,
Yeah,
I mean, is that too late to plant?
Well, this will be issued by the beginning of May, so
It's 2 months.
it's getting by the end of June or July. I mean, it's a tough time of year to plant, but I mean, they could do it in May.
I would say the end of June.
June
End
30th.
of June. Then we'll have to go check staff to inspect. And then there was a note about removing the knotweed. Right?
Yes.
Betsy's brilliant.
Okay. Anything else?
Just if you would insert the words, he's calling for the existing deck to be reconstructed and use the phrase in kind, like that included. So there'd be no expansion or
Yeah.
deviation thereof.
Placed. Got it. In kind.
That was one of the more interesting decks that we've had.
Wasn't it?
It
Yeah.
was like being on a ship.
Yeah. Okay.
Necessity, right? All right.
So
Anything else?
I'll make a
Right.
motion to issue an order of conditions based on our discussion. And my name is Gladfilter, Jamie.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Anybody brave enough for a second?
Pat,
Second, O'Brien. There you go.
All right. Don't be shy. We're all new at this, but. All right. Betsy,
Gladfilter, aye.
Hughes, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Steve.
Pat, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Susumu and Kazuko Honjo, trustees, Honjo Nominee Trust, 296 West Falmouth Highway, West Falmouth, Mass.
This is the whole DCPC. Hang on, Mr. Chairman, I'm getting to that one too. Okay. So this was to do the invasive species removal. Mitigate for several deviations from the original plan. Driveway and landscape modifications. That pretty much sums it up. And then
They have the plantings.
mitigating for all the proposed like modifications, mitigating for all the new hardscape that's been placed around the property. Install mitigation plantings and restoration plantings that were supposed to be done during the prior order of conditions, and do the invasive species removal.
So I have a question. On a project like this, should we put a date certain? I mean, like by November 1st, so that it's done this year? So that when you come to compliance, you see that the plants are there and they've taken root?
I think that's a good idea because this board will be seeing a project shortly in which we granted compliance. The plants were there. We saw them. We have pictures of them and they're no longer there. So, I mean, Betsy, I think it would be important to have the plants that were supposed to be installed by a prior permit in by a date certain.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that's reasonable. But these permits are granted for 3 years, but in the case of like the last one we just did on Charles River, and in this case, these are fulfilling orders of requirements from orders of conditions where they did the work under those orders of conditions, the work they wanted to, but never did the mitigation part. So I have no problem conditioning the prior plantings, Betsy, by a date certain.
Let's give them 90 days.
Okay. For the prior plantings, not all
Correct.
of them.
Correct.
Okay.
And again, for the record, the quorum excludes Mr. Byrd and Mr. Walsh.
Kevin, Betsy, Jamie, Steve, Pat.
Kind of what I just said. But okay.
I'm just, so Susan isn't confused.
Keeper of the records.
Did they submit a new plan? That I have a note that they're supposed to revise their plan and submit it before tonight's hearing.
Already done.
They did do that, okay. They also,
Oh, go on, Pat.
last meeting you were hearing, you were saying that they should have a root barrier between the invasives and the proposed mitigations. Is that still something that should be required?
It's on their plan. They did put it on the plan. Tim revised those plans like the next day and had me review those. So
great.
That was done the day after the hearing, but we'll write that down. Thank you, Pat.
And I have a note about moving the plants away. I think it was further from the
And that
house.
was done. So the root
Yeah.
barrier was done and the plants were shifted 10 feet from the house.
Right.
Perfect.
Hearing all this, I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions based on our present discussion. Gladfelter,
O'Brien, second.
Too fast for me. All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Edmund Der Stepanian, 29 Nauset Avenue East, Falmouth, Mass. And again, the quorum excludes Mr. Byrd, Mr. Walsh.
This is the project where Tom had to ask for the extension. I mean, the continuance because he forgot to tell us he was putting a second floor on the house.
Hasn't been that long of a meeting. We're all giddy about.
I just remember he said it and I was like this. Did he just say he's putting a second floor? Proposed additions, second floor addition, did submit the structural, proposed porch, first floor porch with stairs, spiral staircase, removing a huge patio that was built in the front of the house to create stepping stones, doing a little rinse station, and he will be planting a tree because there was a huge native tree over by that patio, which is not there. And then planting some 200 square feet of mitigation.
All right. Anybody have any questions, comments?
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask the same question. Should we be asking for, this mitigation is between where the building is gonna be and the resource, right? So should we ask that the mitigation?
Yeah, that we can, what we sometimes do, Betsy, is have them do it really depends on the project, because sometimes if it's a raise and rebuild or something like a raise and build, a raise and construct, sometimes the water source isn't there, sometimes.
Right. No, I know that.
But in this case, to have the plantings installed prior to construction.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I mean, I realize there are cases that we don't ask that for very specific reasons. So
Okay.
make a motion to issue an order of conditions based on this discussion.
O'Brien,
Harris,
second. Oh, there you go.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. And that is all we have, folks.
No, I have something.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have other business. Dr. Gladfelter, you are up.
Thank you, Jamie. So I don't know if any of you have been following, but there was an issue last summer and there continues to be an issue at Red Brook Road, which is right on the boundary of Falmouth and Mashpee. And it's going to require a lot of work there, but Red Brook has the potential to have it's in the ACEC, and there's some great environments along there, and it has restoration potential. And so we're working with the town of Mashpee. Mashpee's actually going to submit the grant to DER for a priority river status for Red Brook, and also the sort of goal of the first project is to do engineering options as to what can happen at Red Brook Road. there are a lot of safety issues. And at the minimum, when this work is done, it's going to improve fish passage through that area. I mean, it's obviously, at the minimum, it's going to make it a better road safety wise, but it will also have environmental benefits. But then so that's the first part. And then once that's decided, you can't do anything upriver until you know what's going to happen at the road. So the question is, we would like to have, include a letter, since Falmouth is a partner, from the Conservation Commission and Conservation Department. And I think I sent a copy to Jamie and Jen that Drew had done from Mashpee. And so my question is, could we have a vote of the commission to issue that letter in support of this grant? And Jen, could you write the letter?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Second. Oh,
Wow.
let Pat,
Do we need to see that letter first?
No,
no.
I'll
Just
send it
asking.
to you, Jamie.
Wow.
I'll send it to you, Jamie.
I'm fine with, I mean,
I believe Amy Lowell's, thank you for reminding me, Betsy, I believe Amy Lowell is looking for one as well. She will be putting in an application for,
and then
to relocate the sewer main. So
Yep.
I'll write a couple of them up for us.
okay. So we have a motion and a second to give our backing to that application.
why don't we do it? Well, I guess
Both applications.
separately, or both applications. The
Well, what's the-
DER for Red Book and the MVP
VP.
for the sewer project that includes Surf Drive.
Well, I don't think we can do that as a blanket vote.
Do two separate votes.
Yeah.
All right, so this is for the letter for the Red Brook Road. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
Okay, so we have unanimously support that.
No,
The other one is for the Surf Drive sewer relocation.
Right,
Feasibility study, correct.
MVP.
study.
I'll
Okay.
make a motion to that we issue a letter of support.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
So she's not here.
I'm sorry, I didn't put a, hey, you threw this at me at the last minute. What do you want? Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
Thank you. That is unanimous. All right,
I will make a motion based on the fact that I'm well rested from not having to vote on orders of conditions. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Let's let Peter Walsh second it, because we haven't heard him today.
Okay, I second it.
Who are you?
Congratulations.
are you special? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. IT, you can stop recording, please, and thank you.